What's up, y'all? Today, I'm going to teach you how to write every single one of the Harvard supplemental essays for this year. This video is going to be packed with information. I'm going to go over every step of how to approach each of the supplemental essay prompts. But if you're in a rush to get your essays done and you're like,
Dylan, I just need all the information now,
then I'm going to give you a free downloadable handout that you can access right now. It's linked in the description, again, totally free, and everything we talk about in this video is going to be in there. So I recommend you download it so you can reference it as you are writing your college essays. Now let's begin. Harvard has 5 supplemental essay prompts, and what's really cool is that the prompts that Harvard asks is actually very similar to the prompts that other schools ask. These overlapping essay prompts across different colleges are called super essays. What that basically means is that you can write an essay for one school and use it for another school's application, just as long as you remember to tailor each one to that school's word limit and their school's values. All of Harvard's supplemental essay prompts are 150 words. That is not a lot of words, which means it's usually going to be about either 1 long paragraph or 2 short paragraphs or 3 mini paragraphs. So you're gonna have to be super concise with what you wanna say and how you're communicating it. And that's why it's super important that you brainstorm and have an understanding of what you're gonna say first before you write anything. We don't have time for fluff. Harvard's first supplemental essay prompt is probably the most common super essay that you're gonna see. The prompt is, Harvard has long recognized the importance of enrolling a diverse student body. How will the life experiences that shape who you are today enable you to contribute to Harvard? This is essentially a unique perspectives super essay. Basically, Harvard wants to see how the lived experiences from your upbringing and your background and the aspects of growing up have shaped who you are, shaped your values and your unique perspectives, and then how all of those unique perspectives and values are going to contribute to Harvard. A lot of times this is also referred to as the diversity essay, but that doesn't mean you have to write about race, and it doesn't mean you have to write about culture. So that's why I like to call it the unique perspectives essay, because they keep their prompts pretty broad. So even though Harvard explicitly mentions enrolling a diverse student body in their essay prompt, diversity can mean many different things. Yes, it can be your race, it can be your culture, but it can also be other things like geographic location, your religion, something specific about your family upbringing, or a certain community that you're a part of, or an interest that you have, or your unique ways of thinking and living. For this essay prompt, I really want to make sure that you are writing something that is true to you. Don't just write something that you think Harvard admissions officers are going to want to hear. The best essays come from deep self-reflection. You have to deeply self-reflect on who you are, your life experiences, and your values to get to the core unique thing that's gonna stand out. And likely, the thing that ends up making you stand out is the thing that is most personal to you. But you're not gonna know what that is unless you really dive deep, do a bunch of brainstorming techniques, and reveal what that unique quality is. By the way, in my course, The Admissions Edge, I will literally walk you step by step on how to uncover your unique values, so that's also linked in the description. For this essay, I would ask you to reflect on what are your routines? What are your traditions? How do you go about living your life? What are the core beliefs that influence how you approach everything that you do? And when you think about those core beliefs, ask yourself, where did they come from? Where in your childhood did they stem from? Is this something that you learned as part of your culture? Is it something that your parents taught you? Or even is it something related to an activity or an extracurricular that you spent a lot of time doing? It's important that you're figuring out the value or the core trait that you want to get across first before you just jump into, oh, I'm gonna write about this story or experience. Because this essay is not just about writing about your experiences or a story, it is really getting to what that core thing is that you're gonna contribute to Harvard. So for example, maybe you grew up gardening a lot. Maybe that was a big part of your family or part of the location, the geographic location that you grew up in. The plants were really lush, and so you did a lot of gardening. On the surface, this essay could easily be like, okay, yeah, you planted plants, you harvested vegetables, and then you made dinner with them. Great. But what the essay needs to really be about is how gardening shaped who you are as a person. So you may connect that to the values of patience, or taking responsibility, or having a connection and care for the earth. Or maybe it's about the unseen effort behind everything that we consume. See how we went from something surface level to something much deeper? Now, you do also want to tell a specific story, not just talk about your character traits. Draw the reader in with vivid examples. So if we're talking about this gardening example, I wouldn't just say, yeah, I grew up gardening, we would always do this, we would do that, we would do this. Bring us into one specific moment. Maybe it was when you were picking tomatoes with your dad. And in that moment, you have some sort of realization, which then transitions to talking about your values. Lastly, for this essay, you cannot forget the final piece of the prompt, which is how you are going to contribute that value or perspective to Harvard. This is so important because this is how the admissions officers are gonna see how you would be a great fit for their university. You want to make it super clear that if they admit you, they are making a really good investment because you are going to come and bring these amazing character traits to their community. You're going to help fulfill their goals of enrolling a diverse student body, and you are going to be an active participant within the community who gets along pretty well with all the other people. I would really recommend getting hyper specific in this part of the essay. Like, don't stay vague, because that's what a lot of other students are going to do. How you can set yourself apart is by actually bringing up very specific examples, even if they haven't even happened yet, right? Like, imagine what would it be like? How would you interact with someone else? How would you bring that value to the table? Would it be within your classes? Would it be within your research lab? Or even in your dorm community? Literally paint the picture for them so they can clearly see how you're gonna interact on their campus and with their resources. Awesome sauce. Now let's move on to Harvard's second prompt. Surprise, surprise, this is also a super essay and it falls under the disagreement category. The prompt is, describe a time when you strongly disagreed with someone about an idea or an issue. How did you communicate or engage with this person? What did you learn from this experience? This is another classic one, especially because, again, colleges are a very diverse environment with people with lots of different perspectives and backgrounds, so they want to make sure that you know how to have a good, productive conversation with someone and have healthy communication rather than just arguing and starting fights. The first step to approaching this essay is choosing the right topic. It's nice if you can focus on a pretty substantial disagreement rather than something that's really trivial or a first world problem. For example, writing about a very specific political issue might be more interesting than writing about a disagreement about what to have for dinner.
No, I want to go to Panda Express. No, I want to go to In-N-Out.
That's silly. We can talk about deeper things. It's nice if whatever the topic of disagreement that you're talking about is rooted in a deeper belief that you can then unpack. Because a lot of times people may be arguing about a surface level issue, but if you really look inwards, we realize that, oh, this person operates very differently than I operate, or they are doing this because of this belief that they got from childhood usually, or their upbringing, and that's very different than what I may think or what my beliefs are. So for this essay, I would be very sensitive in how you are approaching the topics and also deal with them with nuance. Because a lot of the times the answer is not black and white. There's a lot of gray area and it's nice to acknowledge those intricacies. Also, when it comes to choosing the topic, I would be a little bit sensitive in thinking about like, how is the admissions officer gonna perceive this? What does it say about me? Is this too touchy of a subject? Use your own judgment, but if you want an extra pair of eyes to look over your essay, I can also help with that, and it's linked in the description as well. The way you want to structure the disagreement essay is starting off with the story. Set the scene, explain what was going on, what was each side arguing, but obviously you can't get too deep into it because Harvard supplemental essays are only 150 words each. The next piece of the structure for the disagreement essay is that you want to focus on how you dealt with the disagreement. How did you approach it? Did you ask questions? Did you get curious? Did you listen actively? You really want to showcase your strengths and ability to communicate here. Because again, they don't want students who are just gonna argue and start fights. They want people who can find common ground or learn things from each other, even if they have differing viewpoints. Lastly, you want to reflect and show your growth. What did this experience mean to you? What were your main takeaways? What are your insights about maybe these ideologies or these beliefs that you are talking about? How do you best deal with conflict? What do you think is the best way to have these conversations? And ultimately, how did this experience help you you mature or help you enhance your worldview. I also want to say that this essay doesn't mean that you always have to be the one who's like, oh, I learned something from them. It could be a two-way street, and it could be the other person learning from you as well. All those different types of stories do work. But bottom line, you do want to avoid negativity or superiority. You don't want to come across as, I am the one who is right and you are wrong. Healthy communication can go a long way. Next up, we got Harvard's third supplemental essay prompt, which is the extracurricular essay. Again, another super essay that a lot of other schools ask for. This one states, briefly describe any of your extracurricular activities, employment experience, travel, or family responsibilities that have shaped who you are. What I love about this essay is it gives you an opportunity to just reuse other essays that you've already written for other schools. Because it is likely that you probably wrote about one of your main extracurriculars in a different supplemental essay, and so if you didn't already talk about that in Harvard's application, then you can use that here. A great one for this could be reusing the community essay. If you wrote that for another school, maybe it was about a club community, a school community, or even if it relates to a family responsibility, that can be used for the extracurricular essay. But it does not have to be that, so here are some questions to help you figure out what is the best activity for you to write about. You want to ask yourself, which activity have I committed the most time and effort into? Which activity has pushed me out of my comfort zone and challenged me to grow as a person? Which activity made me feel most passionate and engaged? And how has my role in this activity impacted people in my community? If you are stuck between multiple choices, really think about the why behind it. Why did you do this? Why do you do the things that you do? You want to choose one that has a really strong personal motivation because you're going to have way more to talk about, you'll sound more passionate, and you will share more of your personal values. So, like most essays, you're going to want to start with a story or an anecdote. To help you figure out how to start, you can reflect on what was that initial moment that inspired you to take action. What sparked you to join this activity? How did you feel at the beginning of doing this activity, and how have those feelings evolved over time? Or even if it's not the first moment that you got involved in the activity, what's another core moment that represents your experience in that activity? Was it this one project that you really poured your heart into? Or this one moment where you were able to see the impact of your work on someone else? Figure out what that moment is for you and then bring us into that moment through your writing. As you talk about your involvement in your activity, it's really nice if you can highlight your leadership and your dedication. You need to position yourself as an active member of this community who is actually doing stuff and working toward a mission to help others. You're not just passively sitting back being a member of the extracurricular. So how did you demonstrate initiative or responsibility? Did you lead a team? Did you collaborate with other people, inspire other people? Or if this is a project that you did independently, what was your specific role in bringing that project to life? Then of course, after you talk about all the things that you did, you have to talk about what you learned from that and how you grew. Think about what challenges did you face while doing that activity and how did you overcome them? How did that activity help you develop new skills, help you with leadership or problem solving? And how have you as a person changed through doing this activity? Harvard essay prompt number 4. How do you hope to use your Harvard education in the future? This essay is very similar to a why us essay that you will typically see. Often schools will ask, why do you want to go to our college? But Harvard's is a little bit different, so I want to point that out. They're specifically asking about the future, so how you're going to use their education to influence your future career goals. So first, you want to really identify what are your goals. Why do you want to go to college? And why do you want to go to Harvard specifically? I would really reflect on your major selection as well, because that plays into this, of course. What is the field that you want to go into? And more specifically, why do you want to go into it? What about that field interests you so much? What kind of problems do you want to solve within that field? And also, what subtopics are you interested in exploring within that field? So for example, a lot of students are interested in computer science, but computer science is so wide-reaching. So I encourage you to think about what are some directions that you may be interested in going within computer science. Are you interested in game development? or you want to work on projects related to AI, or projects related to healthcare, or education technology. I think answering this prompt involves a lot of your own imagination, because unlike all the other Harvard prompts where it asks you to talk about a specific experience that already happened, this one is very much about your future. And so you don't want to stay vague, because again, vague essays are what everyone else is going to write. If you want to stand out and be memorable, you need to talk about very specific things. But in order to do that, you're going to have to use your imagination and paint that picture. What do you imagine yourself doing on Harvard's campus? You can literally name drop certain classes, you can name drop the opportunities that you're going to get involved in, but the point is that you're not just talking about what Harvard has to offer, because Harvard already knows that. Your job is to make that direct connection between what Harvard has to offer and how that's going to help you fulfill your future goals. That's why in order to do that, you have to first define your goals and your aspirations. It's also great if you can connect your future aspirations to something that has impact on other people. So it's not just, I want to learn all this information and gain knowledge and skills so I can be better. It's, yes, I want to get that knowledge so that I can apply it to work on cool projects that help other people. Or I guess depending on what you're studying, it may be people or the environment or animals, but ultimately, what kind of positive impact are you going to make on the community or the world at large? At the end of the day, when Harvard is doing their admissions process, they are checking to see, is this student someone worth investing in? Is this student gonna make us as a university look good? Because yeah, these top schools really love to brag about what their students are doing and what their alumni are doing. If you can paint the picture and show them what kind of work you may do, they're gonna really enjoy that. That brings us to Harvard's supplemental prompt number 5. The prompt is top 3 things your roommate might like to know about you. We often refer to this as the roommate essay. The roommate essay is lots of fun. I think this is a really good chance to show other sides of who you are, your quirks, and again, your personal traits and your values. Stanford is another college that asks for a roommate essay, but theirs is a little bit different. So if you're applying to both schools, I would be careful about that and just make sure you are really understanding the prompt and adapting it for each school that asks it. So you'll notice that Harvard is specifically asking for 3 things that the roommate would want to know about you, whereas the Stanford one is about writing a letter to the future roommate. So I think in the Stanford one, there's probably more interaction that you would do with that roommate in expressing what you would want to get to know about them. But Harvard's, it does seem to be a little bit more about you and what you would want to share with that roommate. And it's not a letter. Things to look out for on this one is just know that oftentimes the roommate essay is an ego check. They want to see that you're not someone who's going to be so demanding or unbearable as a roommate. So I wouldn't say things like, I'm super messy and I put all my clothes all over the floor. Think about what someone would want in a roommate, right? They probably want someone who's fun, really considerate, actually wants to get to know you and be your friend, and is not someone who is too overly demanding or inconsiderate. If you are going to talk about things that are a little more on the quirky side, first of all, I want to say I think that's fine. You can be quirky. You can absolutely show your personality in this one. I think that's kind of why it's there. But it's nice if those quirks are still grounded in some deeper value or trait. So instead of me just being like, hee, I love to collect seashells, there's probably something deeper to that. Why do I love to collect seashells? Oh, maybe it's because it reminds me of home, or because I love going on adventures and I love to explore different types of beaches, or I have this really strong connection to the environment, or because I like to be really crafty and use pieces from the natural environment to create artwork. Figure out the deeper why. That will always help you when writing college essays. I also think this is a really nice place to show something more personal to who you are that isn't so like flashy or related to your major like you've probably been doing in all the other essays. I would challenge you to think about, who are you when no one's watching? When you're just hanging out in your room, you have no work to do, what are you doing? What hobbies are you engaging in? How do you do self-care? What is something that's really important for someone who is living with you to know about who you are or how you function? Talk about those things in this essay, and also, of course, remember to be super specific. Not just what that thing is, but why it matters, what it says about you, the specific details of it, paint the picture, show, don't tell, so that ultimately your essay is making it very clear the kind of person you would be in a roommate situation, so you come across as a positive asset to their living community. And there you have it, the 5 Harvard supplemental essays. I know that was a lot of information, so if you want a full downloadable guide that talks about all the information I just shared, just visit the link in the description and you can get that for free. It's gonna be super helpful when writing your college essays because you don't have to rewatch this video a million times unless you want to. But you can just have the guide right next to your essay, and so you can keep referencing it as you are writing. I hope this was helpful. Let me know what other videos you want me to make, and I wish you the best of luck. And once you are done writing a draft of your college essay, go ahead and submit that to our essay editing team. You will get it back within 1 to 5 days with really strong and thorough feedback by a real human who understands how admissions works, not an AI bot, and we're gonna help elevate your essay to be that much better. Thanks so much for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe because I am always coming out with lots of new college application related videos. All right, I'll see you soon. Have a good one.